Um, are you familiar with any of Klipsch's current products?
Not really. I heard a really cool thing here. Oh gosh, it would have been about a month ago. We're very involved with the Wrecking Crew. Do you know about the Wrecking Crew?
No.
Well, the Wrecking Crew is it was about 20 musicians in California from about 1959 through about 74 or 5. It was Tommy Tedesco. He was a great guitar player, and he was from New Jersey. And in the 50s, everything was recorded in New York. Frank Sinatra,
Hmm.
all the greats were recorded. Well, Tommy, he wanted to go to California, and he did. And as he got out there, he started playing a little bit and found out that there was a lot of jobs in the studios. He didn't want to be a performer. He was a studio guy. And he got together the best players in the world: Carol Kay on bass, Glenn Campbell, a young Glenn Campbell on guitar, stuff like that. Just on and on. And they did so much. They did the Beach Boys. In fact, I got a, did I have it here? No, it's over at the other place. The Beach Boys, a story about a guy came in one day. They worked at Capitol Records, the big round building. And a guy came in to do an record, and he said, "Okay, yeah, fine, it's going to cost us." Okay, and he pays his money. He goes in to record, and he recorded his little solo. He said, "But I'm bringing my backup singer." "No, that's okay, bring him in." So when he goes to leave, why, they go, "Okay, see you later, bye, thanks." But wait a minute, I want to talk to your singers. And they kept the singers back. The singers were the mamas and the papas. And these guys have stories after stories after stories. The Beach Boys. I always thought about this, and I didn't know about the Wrecking Crew till a couple years ago. I knew there was somebody, but I didn't know of the significant. But I have said to Sarah, she knows all that music. She can sing you every song. And I'd say we lived in California, uh, in Seal Beach, and that's where it all started. They lived in Sunset Beach. And I said, this is where the Beach Boys started. And the story is that the persona is that they recorded their first things in a garage and all this. Jim, there is no way. When I listened to that beginning stuff, I'd say to her, where'd they get that reverb? How'd they get the compression? What kind of microphone? This is too good. Well, it was too good. They didn't do it. It was the Wrecking Crew. And the Wrecking Crew played all of their background stuff, and they just sang. And this is all documented. Well, long story short, Sarah got a hold of this about a year and a half ago. They've got a document. It's 2 hours long. Tommy's son, Denny, put it together, and he's trying to get it out to the market. And about 2 years ago, the Musicians Union and a lot of the copyright guys said, "Oh, you can't do that. You owe us $1 million."
Hmm.
So he has been out trying to raise the money for this so that everybody can enjoy this in theaters and on TV and whatever. And Sarah's really, really good. She turned our PR team, which there's three of them on our social media PR team, loose. We're down to about 200,000. We're going to do a screening here in Springfield in a couple of weeks. But the Wrecking Crew is amazing. You put them into Google and just get back.
Okay.
All you gotta do is put Wrecking Crew and watch that little 5 minute to a little trailer. But anyway, where I'm going with this, we got a guy here. He just sold one of his companies for about 40 mil. And he's got a fabulous home theater. I heard he had about a half a mil in it. And I'd never met this guy. This was another guy I knew that knew a guy. He said, "You got to go hear Steve's stuff." So we went there about a month ago, and we got permission from Denny Tedesco to show this, because we can't show it to anybody, and because if a word got out, man, then he'd be in trouble. He said, "No, it's okay. It'll be a private showing, because we're trying to see if Steve would help us promote this and raise some money," which he is. And his home theater has a pair of Klipsch speakers and I don't know how many Macintoshes underneath that, and he did it right, and it was really great. I don't know what model they are, but they're columns.
Okay.
They're mounted on the wall. They were sitting out on the floor, but they were really, really nice.
Okay. Did they have curves on the sidewalls of the cabinet? Were they very sculpted looking?
I don't know. I can't remember because it was dark in there.
No,
I don't know,
that would be good.
but I know it was a column with 4 or 5 speakers in them,
Okay.
and I just thought that was really interesting.
Well, for a theater of
Now,
that
where are
caliber,
those?
it sounds like it might be our Palladium series.
Where are those being built?
They're being assembled in Hope, Arkansas.
I'll be darned. Huh.
I mean, we buy the
Wow.
components out of China, but they are
Uh-huh.
assembled and quality controlled in Hope.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Um, what do you believe the effect has been of Paul on the music reproduction and production front?
Well, I think I know what he did to me and for me, and I'm sure he guided a lot of other people because we were out here just riding around in a canoe in the ocean. There was no paddle, there was no direction, and I think Paul, through all of his AES stuff and so on, I think Paul gave us a direction. He gave me, I know, a definite direction. And I'm positive that that happened to a lot of other people. That he had a focus on quality audio, and nobody had done that until he came along. There was nobody who was doing it.
A little
Nobody.
bit ago, you mentioned Langevin.
Yeah.
I am looking for information on a Langevin employee back in the 1940s who actually named the Klipsch horn.
Oh, I'll be darned.
And I can't find any information on the company back that far. I know I've tried Manley,
Yeah.
and they don't
Yeah.
have anything. So if you ever run into information on the old Langevin
Okay.
company, I would really like it to have it.
You know, they recently got bought out. I can't remember the name of the company that bought them.
Well, Manley has them now, I
Yeah,
think.
there you go.
Yeah.
Manly. Yeah.
And
Do you
I've
you
gone
know
through
her?
them, and they don't have anything.
Yeah, it was interesting. Do you know her?
I don't. I
Ivana
know who
Manley?
she is. I've talked to her once or twice. That's about it. Eva Ann.
I see her. Huh?
Eva Ann.
Yeah, I see her at the shows, usually NAMM shows and AES or whatever, and she rides in on her Harley motorcycle, and she's a character.
Yeah, she is
And
a spectacle.
and I told her about this Langevin. I said there's a lot of history behind this thing. That Langevin is sitting in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
Uh-huh.
and she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, wait a minute. Wouldn't you have a little interest if your product was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?" No. No. Whatever. Maybe I'm too crazed about that thing too, but that was another story that
Well,
when they came to me, it kind of, when you said a while ago, Paul didn't throw away anything, neither did I. Well, I threw a lot of stuff away, but I kept some of the good stuff. And when the curator came to me, what would have been about 2006 or 8, he he came to my plant in Illinois. We started talking as we're doing here and telling him some history. And he said, "Well, do you have any of this stuff?" And I said, "Yeah, I got a lot of it. It's over in the garage next door." We go over there and a lot of stuff sitting around. That's La Scala and da-di-da and all this. And I said, "But look how dirty it is. I'll clean it up." He comes flying across the desk. "Don't you touch it." "No, that's history. We will dust it. Don't you clean it." But that's how it all started. But he was amazed that I saved some of that stuff, and I have.
and how did he and you hook up?
He
He found you.
Well, one of the guys that worked at the Rock Hall, he's not there anymore. I don't know really what he did, but he was in the office there doing stuff. Knew a friend of ours that's the president now of Radio World Magazine, New Bay Communications.
Right.
John, a really dear personal friend of ours. And he hung out with the other John that worked at the Rock Hall, and they got to talking about my past. And he said, man, some of this stuff should be in the Rock Hall. And so the curator, Howard, came down and to Illinois to talk to me and saw this stuff, and they sent a truck down, and the rest is history. They took a room, it's large, right beside Les Paul's display, and they put all new carpet, and they painted all the walls. And I mean, it I don't know what the size of it, but it's about half of a basketball court, and I was absolutely just blown away when I saw it. They built the display, and the night that it opened, we had a party for some of our friends, and I came up the escalator and I started crying. It was just unbelievable, the emotion that hit me to see all of that stuff on the floor of the Rock Hall. It's like, this shouldn't be happening. I'm just some freak from Illinois. But then when you get to thinking about it, it's not a little freak from Illinois. It's just some weirdo that's experimented on all of his life and listened and tried to learn. And it's all sitting there in the Rock Hall.
Cool. Well, we've gone well over the hour, so I'll try to wrap this up. Do you have any other interesting stories about Klipsch that you might be withholding?
No, I wouldn't withhold anything. Just whatever I come to mind. I need to pick Ed's mind a little more about it. But I tell the stories that I've told you today about Paul at almost every one of my things. And I do a lot of things on Skype today with ham radio clubs and audio people and so on, and colleges. I love Skype. And it's all a part of it. It is a part of it. I showed you the picture and it's the only picture I have of he and I. Man, would I love to have a picture of us in his airplane and down here out there running around with his Lascalas and all that. But I need to get a picture of that Scala. I'll do that for you tomorrow. I'll have one of the guys drag that out, and I've got it. Yeah. What did he do? Why did he build those before that with the 12-inch speaker? That's interesting, because we had to fight him to do that.
He built them off and on, starting in 1966. He'd build one or two, and then none for a year, and then a bunch of 4 or 5. And I don't know why he was building them.
Huh. I know.
Well, actually, it is legend that some of them were built for Winthrop Rockefeller's gubernatorial campaign. And he used it on his campaign train car.
Oh, I'll be darned. Huh? Cool. I used a lot of heresies when I do churches and stuff. And I learned about the heresy.
There's a story that you didn't tell.
Because I did a lot of churches, and I learned about the heresy when I was down there with Paul. Because I saw the little speaker. We were in his lab. I got a picture that I got off the internet somewhere of him in front of that plexiglass K horn.
Right.
And I remember vividly. He got it all set up, and he set the sound pressure meter back 3 feet, and went over to that little Marantz app, and he got it all tuned up and started sweeping up with pink noise. And then we measured. It was doing like 105, 110 dB. And he shut it down, and I said, "What kind of power were you running?" 1 watt. I said, 1 watt? Yeah, go over there and check it. And he made me go over and check it and do the math. There it is.
Yep.
1 watt. And while we were in that room that day. I mean, that was really something. Ed and I played quite often later that day with that K horn, playing around with different stuff. And that Heresy was sitting in there on the floor. And I said, "What's that, Paul? What's a Heresy?" I said, "What? It's a heresy. That's what I call it, a heresy, because it is a heresy. I mean, you can fill it." You can fill a lot of space with that. Yeah, you can. And it was an amazing little cabinet. And we used those quite often for churches and gathering places like American Legion halls and stuff like that. And the sad part of it is, a
Did you
few
tell
years
Paul
ago, I went.
Klipsch that? Did Paul know
What?
that you were using it in the church?
I think so.
Because we did an
Yeah.
advertisement in 1973 with the heresy in the church.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you might have been involved with that or implicated.
Yeah. 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 Because it worked great. Oh, you only needed one of them.
And that's all that was in the ad.
That's all you need. One. And then you know what was sick? I went back. Oh, this would have been, what was it, 10 years ago? Was it? Yeah. That was it, 13. Yeah. It had been about 10 years ago, right after 2000. I went back just to check on that church. I was going by one of them out in West County, St. Louis, and taking it down and put up a couple of stupid ass bows. And I just walked out. I didn't talk to anybody. I just turned around and walked out.
Well, I have to
And
admit,
it's
my own church in Hope, Arkansas, after I left, they replaced the heresies with a bows.
really,
Hell yeah.
why? Oh, I know why.
Salesmanship.
Marketing. Yeah, marketing. Yeah, it's like, come on, man. And well, my own church. Well, it was Sarah's home church back in Illinois. Oh gosh, back in the '70s. We hadn't even met up or been married then. I put a really nice set of JBLs in there. I was going to use a Heresy, but they wouldn't. Where I had to put them, they wouldn't let me hang it because I only wanted one.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I put these JBLs in. We start going to that church about, I don't know, what would have been 97. So the speakers are gone, a couple of stupid Boses. I said, what happened here? Well, Dave come in and he's our new sound man and he got rid of all that stuff. And it's just awful. No articulation. That's just, don't get me started on Bose. I absolutely despise that company because I don't know. One of the guys said, you're just jealous because they sold a bunch of stuff. No, I said, I'm pissed off because they've hoodwinked the public.
Yeah.
And mostly engineers. Man, they have fooled the engineers something fierce. It's like, come on. So, what can I tell you? But anyway. You still building a Heresy?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Yes. Did you realize that it's the world's first center channel? It was designed
No, but
to
I
be
know
a
that
center
I
channel.
used it for.
It was designed to
used
be
it
a
for-
center channel.
I used it for that in a lot of my home theater stuff. I did because it was small and it was neat and good. And JBL and all these other guys, they weren't building anything like that. Yeah, we used that for center. Yep. Yep. It was great. What do they sell that for if it's still out there? How much is that? You know, roughly.
I don't know. I have no
Have to
idea.
look.
I bet it's probably $1,500 now or more.
Yeah. Yeah. Really great though. Ooh. Yep.
Yeah, it actually got a pretty good review in Stereophile.
Oh boy. Hey, did you know Taylor Howard?
No.
He was at Stanford. He was the guy that worked with Cooper also in his home theater thing once it got rolling.
Uh-huh.
He formed a company called Chaparral that built commercial LNAs, LNBs, and finally receivers and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Ham radio friend of mine. He died a very stupid death in his home-built helicopter.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, sad.
Let's see.
Well, I sure wish
The Heresy's only $850 each.
$850.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah, great. Okay.
Well, I guess you covered all the questions I had. Any parting shots?
No, I just wish Paul was still here. I'd like to go spend time with him now that I've done some nice things with his great knowledge. And I continue to wave the Paul Klipsch flag and turn people on to his paperwork. Oh, did I ever tell you about AES? He called me one time and said, "I'd like to have you do a paper at the AES." I said, "Oh, really?" Because I had been to one. I got to tell you this story. You know this is coming. He always sat in the front row, right?
Yep.
It was some idiot got up there and started doing his paper, and he was going to tell you how he could take this little bitty box speaker and get 30 cycles out of it, and it was flat from whatever to whatever. And then he started in Oz. Paul stood up about 5 minutes into this idiot's speech, and he turns around and he said, "That is total bullshit. Now, son, are you going to tell them how that thing really works and how it doesn't work, or do you want me to come up there and do it for you?" It's all of his papers together.
Do you know what year it was?
No, it would have, not exactly. It would have been before 74. It would have been at 72, maybe, right after I met Paul. I'd say it was 72 or 3, because in 74, he had me present a paper at the AES. And I said, "Paul, I am not an engineer, and I would never present a paper in front of you because I don't know what I'm doing." "Oh, yeah, you do, kid. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to write a paper on how you package all of this stuff and put it on the road. It has nothing to do with the speakers you're using. I just want to know how you guys package all this stuff and make it from night to night, city to city." And I did.
All right.
And it was well received. I have a copy of that paper somewhere. I got some of them.
Well,
And
I can find it. If it was in the AES, I'll find it.
yeah, and I think packaging large portable sound systems or something. And it would have been about 74.
Okay.
And I was very honored by that he would ask me, but he was intrigued by the fact that we were hauling this around in those days in 40-foot semis.
Right.
And that one night we'd be in St. Louis, and the next night we'd be in Atlanta, and the next night we'd be in Tallahassee or whatever. And I remember him being very impressed or whatever, surprised that we could take all this stuff down, put it in a truck after the show, and drive it to the next place.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of the first guys to do buses. I bought an old bus, and we built beds in it so we could sleep 11 guys, because I was paying Holiday Inn rooms for 11 guys, and we had to put an extra night in there. And they're still doing it. I was with Charlie Daniels last week, and he sleeps he's got a separate bus. It's very nice, though. This is a really nice bus. Now, Charlie's got a $2 million bus, or so whatever, for him and his wife. But this road crew has a very nice plush bus with nice beds in it. We just had plywood and sleeping bags. But you know what? It started an industry, because I was really one of the first guys, Claire and I, to be able to package these systems and move them night to night, that the promoters could do these shows. And it was fun. But I did that paper for him. I just thought about that. That was funny. That guy,
I'm glad you thought
that
about
poor
it.
guy. I can't remember who that guy was, but I should have. But I wanted to forget him really quick. But oh man, he went out of there with his tail between his legs. Woo!
Hostile environment.
Well, no, you get in front of Paul Klipsch, and you don't do do stupid things.
No.
You know, I always said about Paul is he was a scientist. A lot of people, "No, man, that guy great audio." I said, no, he was an audio scientist. It was right, or you didn't talk about it. and that's the way it should be.
Yep.
But of course, you know, the worst sound system in the world and the worst thing you can do can always be set up as a bad example to the rest.
Yeah. Well, Bob, I really appreciate taking the time. You've gone about 50% over what we agreed on.
All of my things do that.
And
Have you ever seen the interview that I did with Leo Laporte called Triangulation?
yes,
So I think
that was a significantly long interview. It
it
was
was
very
supposed
well
to be
done.
30 minutes. I thought it was supposed to be 30 minutes, and I don't know, it ended up about 90, and they chopped some of that off. But Leo is great. We still have a lot of people go refer to that, and I think we talked about Paul, and I'm positive we would have talked about Paul.
Oh, yes, you did.
I talk about Paul in everything I do because Paul was my college professor, and I call him that, and I talk about it. He was the guy that taught me how to do this, but he didn't teach it in one day. I always complete that sentence. And just like when I'm teaching these guys, what I said today, I'm not teaching you everything today. Can't learn it in a day. But Paul directed me to the AT&T studies and Bell Labs studies in those days. Fletcher Munson, Dr. Fletcher, Dr. Munson, learn all that. Harry Olson, an incredible person. You don't hear much about Harry Olson. My gracious, he was a giant. To me, he was.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he was to the industry, but he doesn't get recognition like I think he should. But neither does Paul. I don't understand that. But you and I know, so that's really all that counts.
Yes.
Well, thanks a lot, guys, and let me know what's going on from here. We'll continue.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.